want a war? You're gonna get one.
Now get the guns, the drugs from my generation. I'll take the fall, the saints, and across the nation. And it's a sex, the gods, the freaks, the fraud, they're messing with me. Come on, come on, come on. Let's get it out. Move to my music, play that fucking music. Live through my music, yeah.
Grab your supplies and kiss your loved ones goodbye. You're going to war, soldier, and if we have learned anything over this past year, sometimes war isn't pretty. Even worse, you're going to war around Christmas time, so this better be good. December 23rd, 1996, WCW is live tonight from Macon, Georgia, while Monday Night Raw is a taped show from Tampa, Florida. WCW are just days away from their big Starrcade pay-per-view where Roddy Piper takes on Hulk Hogan. And just as a quick reminder, there's going to be a big Starrcade video on my channel looking at the entire pay-per-view with an overly excessive amount of detail. If you don't want to wait, you can watch it right now on my Patreon page. Right, let's take a look at this week's Monday night shows and see which was the best. Again, you'd be helping me out a whole lot if you hit that subscribe button before we begin. Nitro gives us an incredible opening contest, Eddie Guerrero vs Chris Benoit. The winner of this one will face Diamond Dallas Page at Starrcade for the US title. I know these two have already had a ton of matches together on WCW television, but I'm not exaggerating when I say that this is one of their very best. Woman is not with Chris Benoit this week, and this makes the commentary team wonder what's going on with Chris and Nancy. And speaking of the commentary team, DDP shows up to call the match, and Dallas truly makes the most of his time on the headset. He's not only getting the match over, but he's also getting himself over. Kevin Sullivan cuts a split screen promo where he says Benoit has awoken something that should have been left alone. Benoit thinks he's beaten the ultimate chess player and taken away Sullivan's queen, but Kevin thinks otherwise. As Chris lays in the offense inside the ring, he can't help but look at the camera and send messages to Kevin Sullivan. And this was maybe a mistake because Eddie is able to capitalise and score the win with an excellent frog splash. And let's not overlook the excellent jump from Randy Anderson either. Guerrero vs Page will take place at Starrcade in the US title tournament finals. Eddie says this time it's personal, and DDP says he has 2 words for Guerrero: Diamond Cutter. Gene Okerlund welcomes the Horseman for an interview, and Double A says that a focused Chris Benoit wouldn't have lost this match tonight. Anderson tells Chris that he took Benoit's beating for him last week on Nitro because Chris is a horseman. But the Enforcer also says that Benoit deserves a good kicking for taking another man's wife. Deborah chimes in by saying the next time Chris wants to have an affair, he should let Deborah know and she'll get one of her girlfriends. And Deborah says that a horseman doesn't need to deal with damaged goods. Benoit tells Double A that Woman isn't here tonight because, again, she's off taking care of horseman business. And Chris also says he doesn't appreciate the allegations being thrown at him. Benoit says he and Woman were in Germany strictly on horseman business, and the pair were trying to think of ways to bring the group back together and return the faction to their glory days. So guys, the next time you get caught with another lady friend, just tell your wife or your current girlfriend that you were off doing important horseman business. Benoit gets a little annoyed at Deborah. Mongo steps in and Chris tells his horseman comrade to talk to the hand, and Mongo tells Chris he needs to put the bit back in his teeth and keep his mouth shut. Big Mongo isn't letting Chris talk bad about Deborah. And then Ric Flair separates the two by saying he's here for the Yuletide festivities and Woman deserved time away with Chris Benoit. It's almost like Slick Rick doesn't care and he's just happy that Benoit and Woman are having a good time. Hulk Hogan then cut a promo almost identical to last week's. He calls out Piper, he gets Liz to give him a kiss on the cheek, and Hogan says that Piper is afraid of him. Hogan says an accolade that will get added to his resume will be the man who scared the skirt off Roddy Piper. And that was it really. We'll be seeing more of Hulk Hogan a little later on, as Hogan has promised us that Roddy Piper is indeed somewhere in the building, and the Hulkster is going to call out the hot rod. Lex Luger took on Tombstone next. Who is Tombstone? I hear no one ask. People may remember him as 911 in ECW. He had only wrestled 2 matches as Tombstone before changing his name to Big Al. Yep, Big Al. Not much to say here, Luger wins with the torture rack. After the bout, Lex's Starrcade opponent, the Giant, shows up to attack Luger, but Lex puts the big man in the rack too, and this leads to the NWO hitting the ring and the total package gets out of harm's way. Rey Mysterio then picked up a win over JL. Mysterio is gonna face Jushin Liger this week on pay-per-view, and if his performance on Nitro here is anything to go by, we should expect great things at Starrcade. After the bout, Rey talks about Sting. Remember, Mysterio jumped on Sting last week during the WCW vs NWO brawl, and Sting threw Rey to the mat. Mysterio believes that Sting is still with WCW, and Rey wasn't hurt last week, unlike when Kevin Nash almost put Rey's head through a trailer back at the Disney MGM shows. An easy unopposed point for Nitro this week. You'd be inclined to stick with TNT on this Monday evening to see the rest of the Starrcade 96 build-up. Okay, what have we got here? Mark Mero versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley and, my god, Glacier versus the Sarge. Merry fucking Christmas. Mero versus Helmsley then, the IC title is on the line, and if Hunter gets himself disqualified then he'll also lose the championship. Goldust shows up in the audience along with Marlena. These two are going to watch what happens, and remember, Helmsley has started a feud with the Bizarre One. Mero attacks while Hunter's distracted. The Wildman lays in a ton of right hands before hitting a back body drop, followed by a Japanese arm drag. Mero is bringing the fight to Helmsley and Hunter takes the Flair corner bump. Jim Ross says that Mero thinks this'll be his last shot at the IC title, and so the Wildman has nothing to lose and everything to gain. Hunter gets sent to the outside and Mero decides to go after Jerry Lawler. That Karate Fighters final last week has created a hot new feud in the WWF, it seems. Lawler runs away and Hunter takes advantage when Mero returns. 3 dudes with bad haircuts can't keep their eyes off Sable, and our guy in the middle wants to bop her on the head with his rolled up Freddie Joe Floyd sign. Hunter goes to grab a chair at the Spanish announcer's table, and look at these 2 absolute maniacs trying to take the chair away. They must really, really love Mark Mero. Hunter remembers he'll lose the title if he uses the weapon, and so Hunter has second thoughts. The match goes back into the ring and Mero absorbs a few knife-edge chops. Hunter takes another Japanese arm drag and Mero goes back to throwing right hands. Triple H then pays homage to Nature Boy Ric Flair by hitting the mat face first, but Hunter gets right back up and Mark finds himself on the outside. Hunter performs a baseball slide and the referee gets distracted by Sable's big attempt to help Mero, and so Hunter rams the Wildman into the steel steps. Mero gets back into the ring with a sunset flip. Hunter then pins Mero, but Mark bridges out. Hunter then kicks out of a backslide before hitting a jumping clothesline, and when we come back from a commercial break, Hunter nails a vertical suplex. A knee drop from Triple H follows and Mero manages to fire back with a head scissors. Mark then goes upstairs and he hits a drop kick from the top, and Mero then decides to finish it after nailing a Samoan drop. The Wildman goes for the Mero salt, but Hunter dodges it. We see the pedigree from Triple H, and Hunter wins with a clean finish. Hunter gets out of the ring and Mero acts like a sore loser. The Wildman then disappears as Hunter grabs a microphone. Triple H announces that Goldust will face him at the Royal Rumble, and at the pay-per-view, Triple H will show Goldust what it means to be a real man. Triple H then says he'll show Marlena what it's like to be with a real man, and this makes Goldust go after Hunter. Helmsley gets out of the way. Goldust isn't facing Ming at the Royal Rumble, so I've no idea what Hunter was talking about here, but yeah, a solid opener from WWF Raw. Old Frosty Balls is back on the second hour of Nitro, meaning I am forced to talk about this match for your enjoyment. Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker tries to sneak attack Glacier at the opening bell, but Glacier grabs his opponent by the throat, going for the fatality early it seems. Mark Curtis breaks it up and Parker ends up taking a leg sweep. More kung fu capers follow as Glacier gets whipped into the corner, but he comes back with a knee strike, a takedown, and a devastating kick to the face. A wrist lock from Glacier and a karate chop brings Sarge down for a moment. Glacier then rolls out of an Irish whip attempt and more strikes get delivered. The Sarge finds himself perched on the top turnbuckle and Glacier knocks his opponent out of the ring with a kick that he learned from Grandmaster Sensei. More kicks on the outside as the complete destruction of Sarge continues. The match gets back inside the ropes where Glacier shows off more unique kung foolery. Sarge takes a reverse snapmare before getting kicked in the head, and a nice jump kick from Glacier knocks Sarge down. What's noticeable here is that the crowd are completely flat for this matchup. All joking aside, Glacier's pulling off some very unique offense and it looks good, but the fans don't care at all. We see Sarge is bleeding from the nose as Glacier hits a standing spin kick, and man, there was absolutely no contact here at all. Gotta give it to the Sarge though, he's wise enough to kick out and let Glacier do it again. Sarge gets smacked up the head one more time, and it's all over. Glacier wins via pinfall. Also, the commentary team called Glacier's spin kick the cryonic kick. This would evolve or even devolve into a normal standing sidekick. Take our chili chilled friend out of the bout and it's still a squash match with a botched finish. Raw gets the point. The Amazing French Canadians, no, not the Quebecers, the Amazing French Canadians take on the Public Enemy next on Nitro, while the WWF puts on a Rocky Maivia vs Salvatore Sincere match. Sunny comes out wearing a Santa hat. She's going to provide commentary for this match while salivating over Maivia. Sunny wants to manage Rocky, and so does Jim Cornette. Rock turned down Cornette, and so Jim is now managing Salvatore Sincere. How the fuck does that work out? Vince McMahon promotes a new show, Shotgun Saturday Night, and if you want to see what happens during the first lot of Shotgun episodes, check out the video I made a few weeks back. Rock starts off by controlling the wrist. He takes a shoulder block, but he kips up right away. And then Sincere goes for a hip toss, but Maivia counters it, sending Sincere to the outside. The two have a scuffle as Sunny talks about getting her claws into Rocky, saying that Cornette wasn't successful in signing The Rock, but Sunny will be. As McMahon promotes a match that I don't want to see next week, Rocky summons his inner Glacier with a karate chop from the top rope. Rock then hits a dropkick, and Sincere is finally able to do something in this match when he counters Maivia before hitting a sidewalk slam. Sincere then goes on offense for a while. Cornette looks on as Salvatore hits a jawbreaker. He follows up with a body slam. Sunny seems to be getting a little concerned as Sincere hits a Russian leg sweep, but Rock comes back and Sincere takes a clothesline. Sal Sincere took a nice inside out bump here. Rocky hits a few right hands before performing his signature punch, and then we see a nice float over DDT by Maivia. It's all over. Rock wins the match after performing his devastating shoulder breaker. And Sunny makes it clear that she's going to keep pursuing the young rookie because what Sunny wants, Sunny gets. Not bad by this Rocky kid, though I'll only give him another few weeks before he's out of a job. Robert Parker says Je m'appelle Colonel as he brings the French Canadians down to the ring for their match tonight. Rougeau and Willette sing the Canadian national anthem. Public Enemy tries a sneak attack, but they get taken out. The French Canadians continue singing the anthem, but Grunge and Rock blind their opponents with their beanie hats and our match is underway. A few double team moves from Public Enemy leads to the French Canadians getting sent to the outside. Rougeau gets set up on a table, but Willette keeps Public Enemy busy inside the ring. Jacques avoids getting put through the furniture. Grunge ends up taking a beating inside the ring and the French Canadians show off their double team skills. Rougeau tags in Carl before applying a Boston Crab, and Willette comes into the match by performing a leg drop from the top rope. The Colonel then distracts the referee as the Amazing French Canadians bring the Public Enemy's table into the ring. Carl and Jacques use the table to assist a Quebec crash attempt, but Rocco Rock interferes, making the table snap while Willette falls down hard. The Public Enemy then use the broken table as a weapon and the referee calls for the bell. The Amazing French Canadians win via disqualification. The Public Enemy continue their attack on Carl and Jacques before the segment comes to an end. Giving this point to WWF Raw, I just felt like the Rock vs Sincere match was better. New NWO member Big Bubba takes on the Dungeon of Doom's Konnan next while Vince McMahon interviews Sycho Sid inside the ring. HBK pays attention to Sid's interview from the locker room. Vince McMahon reminds us that Sid has beaten Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. And then you notice that the Champion's theme music isn't going to stop here and the lighting inside the arena isn't going back to normal either. This whole promo's going to have Sid's entrance music playing in the background, which is a little weird, but it's a great theme song. Vince says everyone has an attitude these days: Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Austin, Vader, The Undertaker. And Vince says these men are all playing into Sid's hands. Sid says he has indeed beaten two greats within the space of 30 days, and now when Sid walks, the ground shakes, and when Sid talks, people listen. Sid is now the super predator of the World Wrestling Federation. What a great name. HBK rolls his eyes when he hears this backstage. Sid says he's 6'9", over 300 pounds, and tomorrow he'll be the same weight and size, and the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after that. I don't know, man. Sid might have a little slip up and end up phoning the Executioner's Fast and Furious pizza delivery service, but what Sid's trying to say here is he'll remain unstoppable while holding the WWF Championship. Sid's delivery was so good here. Even if his words mean very little, he does come across as really intimidating, and he has such a great presence. Vince promotes the 1997 Royal Rumble main event before Raw moves on to its next segment. Bobby Heenan says that Big Bubba only joined the NWO so he could get himself a nice new clean shirt. We have an earring sporting Nick Patrick officiating this matchup here, and take a look at this. Konnan drops down while Bubba hits the ropes, but Konnan just doesn't bother getting back up. He stays down and Bubba nails an elbow drop. Bubba then goes after Jimmy Hart on the outside, and Konnan surprises his opponent with a dive to the outside. Konnan also hits a dropkick from the apron, and the pressure is kept on when Bubba gets rammed into the ring steps. Konnan then hits a low dropkick that knocks Bubba back into the steps, and referee Nick Patrick then begins a very slow count on Bubba. Konnan confronts Patrick, and this gives Bubba a chance to get in the ring and take advantage. Nick Patrick lets Bubba cheat as Konnan gets choked with a Hollywood Hogan bandana, and he also gets thrown over the top rope. The match resumes in the ring and Bubba nails a clothesline. Konnan gets punched, kicked, and even choked on the mat, and Patrick lets it all slide. Bubba uses his foot to choke Konnan, and again Patrick is doing nothing about it except giving Bubba slow counts. Eventually Jimmy Hart gets on the apron to complain, and Jimmy accidentally pokes Patrick on the nose. This is enough for Patrick to eject Jimmy from the ringside area, but have a look at how Patrick sends Hart back to the locker room. This is fucking amazing. I must have watched this back around 5 or 6 times. Konnan begins fighting back and he nails a dropkick. He then sends Big Bubba flying over the top rope, and that's going to be a disqualification. Big Bubba wins the match. Bubba saves Patrick from getting a beating afterwards, and I'm left with a tough decision here. I like the Sid promo, but I also like Nick Patrick's shenanigans this week. If I had to choose one though, I'd probably go with the Sycho Sid promo, so Raw scores another point. Nitro puts on a champion versus champion match next. Dean Malenko versus Steve Regal, and Steve's TV title is on the line. On Raw, we've got AAA's Pierroth and Cibernetico versus the New Rockers. As mentioned in the In Your House It's Time video, AAA wrestlers will compete in the 1997 Royal Rumble, including the legendary Mil Mascaras, and Mascaras is actually providing commentary for this match over on the Spanish announce table. Things start off fine here with Pierroth taking Leif Cassidy down before hitting a few chops, but then Pierroth falls over after a leapfrog attempt and there's an audible gasp in the arena. The Lucha Star recovers straight away, Cassidy takes a dropkick, and in comes Cibernetico, and the 21-year-old pulls off a nice arm drag, and Cassidy takes another dropkick. Marty Jannetty gets tagged in, and he's absolutely no problem for Cibernetico. Jannetty goes for a monkey flip, but his opponent stops in his tracks to lay in a boot, and it takes a little cheating from the New Rockers to gain an advantage here. Cibernetico gets whipped into the corner and Marty follows up with a jumping fist. Jim Ross lets us know that Pierroth and Cibernetico are also heels back in the AAA promotion, so fans are having a hard time choosing who they want to win. Cassidy gets tagged back in and we see a double clothesline from the New Rockers. We come back from a commercial break and Vince McMahon hypes up tonight's main event, Bret Hart vs Razor Ramon. And then Jannetty and Pierroth come back into the match and Marty takes a beating. Pierroth hits a powerbomb and Cassidy is forced to jump into the ring to break up the pin attempt. And this leads to Cibernetico jumping in to attack Cassidy. Cibernetico hits a dive to the outside to keep Cassidy out of the ring, and Pierroth finishes the match by nailing Jannetty with a top rope splash. The Rockers argue after the final bell, and that's it for this illustrious tag team. The New Rockers have now split up. Wish I could say something nice about this tag team, but I can't. At least Marty can go back to sniffing glue and whatnot, but he was probably doing that during this WWF run. The next time we see Marty on Monday Night Television is in 1998 when he appears on Monday Nitro. Mil Mascaras gets interviewed next by Jim Ross. Mascaras says he'll give us the match of his life when he appears in the 1997 Royal Rumble, and I want you to remember those words because you'll see. And Mascaras talks about looking forward to wrestling in San Antonio next month for the WWF. The interview was absolutely brutal, and listen to what Vince McMahon says once it's over.
Another award-winning interview by JR.
Vince McMahon, what an absolute savage. If you like grops, holds and takedowns, you're gonna love Regal vs Dean Malenko. I'm not going to try and sit here and name every hold and every lock that gets applied here because honestly, I wouldn't know where to begin with half of their names, but it's quite evenly matched at the opening bell. Regal gains control and he does a fantastic job of working Dean over with a wristlock takeover. Regal keeps the pressure on afterwards and Malenko needs to take a moment to compose himself. Regal comes at Dean and we get a sequence where Malenko shows off his agility, but Regal then surprises everyone by performing a cartwheel afterwards and Dean gets hit with an enziguri. Sonny Ono then shows up once again during a Dean Malenko match, and again he's acting like a tourist with his camera, snapping photos of Malenko. Eventually, Mark Curtis decides to throw Ono out of the arena before he distracts Malenko, but Dean's having a tough enough time here against his lordship. Malenko tries to jack Regal's arm, but this just enrages Regal. We see some of that joint manipulation and Regal goes for a pin, but Curtis makes a good call here. Malenko's shoulders aren't on the mat. Regal then begins fighting dirty by ramming his knee into Dean's face right in front of the referee, and Dean decides he's had enough after taking a big clubbing blow to the back. Malenko fires back with a suplex. Regal isn't letting up though, he goes straight back on offense and he applies a deep abdominal stretch, but Malenko hits back with a dropkick. It seems like Dean can't compete with Regal's mat wrestling skills, so he's going to try some strikes instead, but that doesn't last long. Malenko finds himself in a full Nelson, he hangs in, and Malenko gets a chance to apply the Texas Cloverleaf, but Regal makes it to the ropes. Eventually, Dean gives Regal a beating in the corner, but Regal replies with a dropkick. The back and forth action continues when Malenko hits a German suplex, and then he follows up with a vertical suplex. Dean thinks he has it won, he goes to pin Regal, but the bell begins to ring. TV title matches have a 10-minute time limit, and that time limit was met during this matchup. Steve Regal retains the belt. So this one goes to Monday Nitro. Raw ends this week with a Bret Hart vs Razor Ramon match, while WCW presents a match and a promo. We've got a short Jeff Jarrett vs Rick Steiner contest and another Hulk Hogan promo. Let's stick with Nitro then. Double F vs the Dogface Gremlin. Jarrett pulls off an arm drag right at the opening bell and he does his little strut. Scotty Steiner watches on, no doubt wanting to jump into the ring to rip Jeff's face off, but he needn't bother. Rick takes Jarrett down and he begins laughing as Jarrett scratches and claws on the ring mat. Rick gives a clean break in the corner, but he can't stop laughing. Jarrett tries to go on offense, but Rick slams his opponent into the corner as the crowd begin chanting, "We want Sting." Rick is still laughing like an absolute fucking maniac here. Have a listen.
Steiner having a good time. Listen to it. Big elbow drop.
Jarrett gets a boot up in the corner and he follows up with a diving clothesline. Rick comes back with an overhead belly-to-belly suplex, and then the crowd begin rising to their feet while making a lot of noise. They think it's Sting, but it's fake Sting, or fraud Sting, or shit Sting, whatever you prefer. Fake Sting goes to give Jarrett the death drop, but Rick hits a Steiner line on the imposter. For whatever reason, Jarrett pins the bogus Sting. The referee counts and the match is over, so work that one out. The real Sting doesn't make an appearance, by the way. The crowd continue to chant "We want Sting," but it doesn't happen. After this segment, Hulk Hogan comes out to cut another promo, and Hulk says he just received a letter from Roddy Piper and the Hot Rod has admitted that Hogan is the one true icon of professional wrestling. Hogan is greater than Piper could ever be, and Piper has apparently said he doesn't compare to Hollywood Hogan. Just then, Piper's theme music plays in the arena, and out walks Eric Bischoff wearing a kilt and a red and yellow Hulk Hogan t-shirt. Eric must have been afraid of the audience seeing his little executive producer because he's wearing jeans under the kilt. Bischoff gets into the ring and he says, "Just when you thought you knew all the answers, I changed the questions," acting like Piper. Bischoff says he had no right to be in the main event with Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania, and there's no way in the world that he can beat Hogan. And so Roddy Bischoff here lays down in the middle of the ring and Nick Patrick makes a 3 count. Bischoff begins to bow down to Hogan while he and Hulk say that the Hulkster paid for Piper's home and the Hulkster feeds Piper's kids. And then a pipe band begins making their way down to the ring as Hogan and Bischoff look on in disbelief. The crowd and the commentators pop when Roddy Piper shows up on Monday Nitro and he begins approaching his Starrcade opponent. There's a great atmosphere in the arena here. Piper gets into the ring and the two men begin trading punches. The NWO's Big Bubba and Wall Street hit the ring and they hold Piper. If you want anyone holding your opponent, you definitely want old Diamond Hands here. And as Hogan begins beating up Piper, we see Sting watching from the rafters. The crowd again chants "We want Sting" as security rush into the ring. The whole NWO is here now also, and this is how Nitro goes off the air. Want to know what happens next? You gotta tune into Starrcade 96. Great ending to Nitro. The Steiner match could be skipped, but those last moments with Piper and Hogan were excellent. The Honky Tonk Man is going to provide commentary for our main event on Raw. He's got some sort of announcement he's going to make, and here, let me save you the curiosity. Honky Tonk Man is on a talent search and he wants to take a superstar under his wing. This would go on for months. I can't imagine many superstars backstage would want to get paired up with this fucking muppet, but hey, greatest IC champion of all time, apparently. The Hitman and the really bad guy lock up and Brett applies a wrist lock. The Hitman brings it down to the mat where he focuses on the arm and shoulder, and the Honky Tonk Man continues to talk nonsense as Brett hits a crossbody inside the ropes. Razor turns it around by raking Brett's eyes. The Hitman takes a few blows to the back, but he counters Razor's offense and Bogner takes a few right hands in the corner. Another rake to the eyes gives Razor an advantage. Brett takes one of those signature Razor Ramon punches, and the bad guy follows up with a few kicks. Razor chokes Brett on the top rope, and there is just absolutely no heat in this match at all. Brett gets whipped into the corner and Razor chokes the Hitman. Brett then gets stomped by Razor and the piped in crowd noise becomes really distracting here. Razor then lifts Brett up for a chokehold before dumping him back into the corner. And then check out this clothesline that knocks Brett out of the ring. What in the name of... You may be wondering why Brett is letting this happen, and well, the Hitman was actually good friends with Bogner dating all the way back to the 80s. Bogner was from Calgary too, so Brett must have been letting Rick get in all he could during this Raw main event, but unfortunately for us, it makes for a bad TV match. Brett turns it around on the outside. We go to a commercial break, and when we come back, Brett hits his elbow drop, we see the sharpshooter, and it's over just like that. You guys must know by now that I'm a big Bret Hart fan, but it can't be overlooked at all. His last 2 televised matches that we've watched, this one here and the Sid match at In Your House, both were pretty bad. Nitro gets the final point. Vince gets a quick interview with a very dismissive Shawn Michaels next, and Shawn isn't in the mood for answering questions at all. Shawn was definitely all over the place during these tapings, judging by last week and this week. Shawn says he's not like Bret Hart. HBK didn't complain when he lost the title at Survivor Series, but HBK knows that referees let things slide during big matchups, and so Shawn will live with the fact that he was beaten at Survivor Series, and that's that. At the Royal Rumble in San Antonio, HBK will bring everything he's got, and he's going to be prepared for everything inside the Alamo Dome. We have a tie this week, both shows got 3 points each. Nitro started and ended really strong, but there were a few hiccups in the middle. Raw had a good start, but the show was let down by the semi-main and main event matches. Loads of excitement this week though for Starrcade 96, and WCW done a good job hyping their biggest show of the year. We have 21 points to Raw, 33 points to Nitro, and we've got 9 ties on the leaderboard. Even though the Bret Hart main event was advertised last week, Raw drew their lowest rating of the entire Monday Night War, a 1.5. Nitro got a 3.1, so we can't blame it on the holiday season, although also, to be fair, WCW's go-home Nitro shows always perform well too. Still, whatever way you want to look at it or whatever way you want to try to explain it, it's a complete massacre this week by WCW Nitro in the television ratings. Starrcade 96 is up next. The video will be available on this channel soon, but again, if you want to watch it now and see a few other videos early while also supporting the channel, then head over to Patreon. The last Monday Night War battle of 1996 takes place next week also, and to end the year, the WWF put Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels inside the ring, and Jim Ross interviews both men. It's gonna get good, guys. Thank you very much for watching, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you again in the Starrcade video.